we have Josh McCarter from Booker. And as you can see, Booker is expanding. So we're really thrilled to have Josh, and he's going to be talking about one of the big themes that we have here today about whether to go vertical or horizontal and how you look at expansion in local commerce. That's our day. And please thank our wonderful sponsors. It's always really great to be able to work so closely with great companies like yours. So please help me give a big thanks to our sponsors who help make this possible. So I think that's it. Are there any questions? No? Okay. Well, enjoy the day, and I'll be back up here soon. Okay, welcome, Josh.
Well, I think that this is the first presentation where I've ever been introduced as the pinch hitter for a CEO who was laid off last week, and hopefully that's the last time that I'll be introduced that way too for those other CEOs in the room. That's certainly not the way that we want to start a day. But I'm excited to be here. I was really happy that David and Laura reached out and asked me to present on a topic that we've been living at Booker for probably about 4 years now. How do you take a system that is designed in one vertical and then take it off across more categories? And first of all, is that possible? And if it is, how do you do it? And so what I want to do today is walk you through kind of the lens of a service-based business, because that's what we focus on. So we don't do retail, we don't do medical, we don't do restaurants, but we do a wide variety of service-based businesses. And the use cases in those businesses are pretty complex, and it'll give you a feeling for, in some cases, why you can't take a system that's an operating system, as we'll talk about, across multiple different verticals. Something that works for a spa and a salon, will that work for an automotive dealership or for a dentist? There's just a lot of different use cases in that. So starting out, I want to just talk about what we define as local service commerce. And so this really, as you can see up here, we call it the end-to-end life cycle of online and offline actions that empower local service businesses to attract, engage, and transact with customers, and then effectively manage their business. And so boiling that down, it's really what are all of the connected tools that they need to run their operations, to attract and engage customers, and then grow their revenues. And that's really kind of the suite of tools that we talk about as service commerce. Now, why is that relevant in today's economy? Well, service-based businesses account for about 60% of the US GDP, so it's a massive industry. We did some work with Bain to look at the market size and compared it to e-commerce, because everybody's heard of e-commerce, but not many people have heard of service commerce. And when you look at the receipts, like the actual sales that are coming through local service businesses versus e-commerce retailers, it's about 5 times larger in service-based businesses. And then the software opportunity, which is where we make our money from software licensing, is about 3 times larger. And so that's kind of and it's also growing because more and more of these businesses are coming online. One of the kind of astounding stats that we also pulled together that's relevant, I think, for a lot of folks in this room is that the advertising spend from these businesses is somewhere between $40 and $50 billion. So it's massive. And that is something that as we get further in the presentation, I'm going to talk a bit more about how operating systems and things that are happening on the back end are really starting to drive marketing on the front end. Let's market in terms of actual numbers. We size it around 10 million merchants that are in there. These are non-medical, non-restaurants, north of $50,000 in revenue. I think north of 3 employees was the size. And then as we've looked at kind of the competitive landscape, nobody has a huge amount of merchants that are on any particular operating system. I think MindBody, who's one of our competitors in health and wellness, has the most, and they're at about 40,000. So if you take everybody and kind of add them up and you think about the systems they're using, we estimate that number somewhere around 50,000. And this isn't like fully connected where everything is talking together. This is maybe a point solution for CRM or a point solution for point of sale. But what's really happening now is that these type of systems are starting to get integrated. And so Booker, we refer to Booker as a service commerce platform where we have a lot of different modules that basically connect to one another, and they're able to support a wide variety of use cases. And this is really what enables us to go across different categories. Now, we can't serve every category in the market, but businesses that are largely appointment-based businesses are things that we can handle. We can also support classes and other things, but I'll just kind of walk you through some of the use cases. So scheduling and booking are kind of two sides of the same coin. We think of booking as the consumer-facing interface, and scheduling on the back end for like a walk-in or a phone-in customer. And so for a scheduler like Booker, we have to be able to schedule appointments, classes, series, packages. If somebody's a member, we need to schedule them in as a member. Some of those services might be location-based, some of them might be mobile-based. So all of that complexity goes into the service scheduling, and then on the back end, you have to manage the staff and the resources. Who's working when, what services they provide, how long do they take to do those services, and all of that information needs to go into kind of driving the scheduling. Next, you need to know who's showing up. So from a CRM standpoint, we have to track the person. Where do they come from? What are their preferences? And then we need to be able to take payments from them. So that's kind of the services point of sale. And that's an area in local that's really seen a lot of evolution over the last, call it 5 years, mostly in retail and restaurants, where point of sale systems have evolved quite a bit. A services point of sale is yet another evolution of that. And what we have to be able to do is sell the type of things that are being scheduled, right? So a class, a series, a package. And we also have to be able to sell memberships. So if you think about a membership, that's probably one of the most complex use cases that a lot of businesses are using now. I'm seeing it across the board in lesson-based businesses, classes, Dry Bar, who's down the street from here, sells a package and a membership for blowouts. They're one of our customers. And so when you sell a membership, you need to know, okay, if I sold a VIP membership to Stan, that he gets 20% off of services, he gets 2 free classes, he gets 10% off of products that he buys, and he can bring his best friend for free on Tuesday. So that when Stan goes into schedule at the front end, all of that information is surfaced through the scheduling, through CRM, staff allocation, and then when he goes to pay for it, that all of that goes across. So those are some pretty robust use cases that you can see how that could apply to a variety of businesses that are selling classes or appointments or memberships. And that's one of the things that we've had to build out over time, is really this breadth of functional requirements that support a variety of different businesses. Now, it doesn't support everything. So we don't do medical, we don't do restaurants, a lot of different use cases as you start kind of getting into different verticals. And so this is what I wanted to talk about, because it'll lead into some of the presentations later. The first thing is that for smaller businesses, a simple use case that most service-based businesses use, they need to be able to schedule their customers, they need to be able to simply manage their staff, they need to be able to take payments and transact and remember those customers. And if that's a single location business with about 5 to 10 employees, those use cases are very consistent across a variety of industries. But as you start going into a multi-location, that changes quite a bit, because you might have somebody that has 10 locations, maybe they're independent or maybe they're franchised, but if they're franchised, if you sold a gift card at one location and it got redeemed at another location, or you have a customer that bought a membership at one location and goes to use it at another location, the back-end processing on that is very complex. And so that's one of the things that, from kind of the breadth of a platform serving different industries, has to be factored in. Other things like, is it a location-based service or is it a mobile service? You can think about somebody that's fixing bikes, like a bike repair shop, versus a Roto-Rooter franchise that has 15 trucks and 50 employees. How do you manage the routing of that versus simple scheduling of a bike repair? Those are two very different use cases, and that's where a lot of the complexity gets introduced. Things with pricing, naming conventions. We talk about our platform being able to pass the "is it for me" test. When somebody logs in, does it sound like it's their type of a business? So if I'm a plumber and I log in and I see terminology around a therapist, that's not going to make sense to me. And so some simple things like that, need to be modified on a vertical by vertical basis. And one of the big things that we've also seen is CRM. So when you think about CRM simplistically, it's it's Josh coming in for a particular service. But what if it's me scheduling a service for my daughter and she's going into an after-school class? I need to now bill Josh and send the marketing messages to Josh, but I need to track attendance based on my daughter. Or same thing, we work with PetSmart in the pet services industry, and you're having your dog that's going in for a grooming. So all of the attributes around the dog and their vaccinations relate to the dog, not to the parent, hopefully. And then insurance and regulation is another big one, and a reason why, frankly, we stay out of medical, because there's a lot of legal regulations. Frankly, there's a lot of good systems that are in the medical services space. But as you think about how to carry functionality from one industry to the next, really understanding what's required from the regulation side is an important piece to understand. So I wanted to show you a quick use case of a partnership that we have. This is a subsidiary of Comcast called Golf Now. They have a product that we've been building with them, and in the midst of building a tee time management system for them, they acquired a company out of the UK that was just doing tee time management, and what they wanted to do was carry it across the whole platform like Booker does. So everything from scheduling and point of sale and resource management, and being able to sell that. And what we found as we started digging into this other platform is that scheduling tee times is really complex. It's very specific to the golf industry, obviously. You have to be able to schedule a tee time. You might have a foursome, you might have a twosome, you might have two twosomes that you got to bring together as a foursome. One of the things that I didn't know, because I'm not a golfer, is that they have a concept of changing tee times automatically based off of weather. So if you wake up in the morning and it's really cloudy or it's rainy and you need to adjust the schedule by 30 minutes, you push a button and it kicks everybody down 30 minutes and then shoots out emails to everybody letting them know that they're going to be 30 minutes delayed. They also have something called Follow the Sun, which is 6 a.m. in the summer is not 6 a.m. in the winter. And so you have to be able to tie in when do you open your course for business based off of when the sun's up. So this will give you, just kind of a quick idea of some of the things you've got to capture, the players, the green fees, are there other services that they're doing? And then we also changed our tablet interface custom for the golf industry, where people can purchase products in the pro shop, and then if they're out and they get hungry and they want an omelet with American cheese, that's something that they can do, and that also gets routed back to the kitchen to be prepared. So this was something that was leveraging existing infrastructure that we already had at Booker, but we were able to turn it into something a little bit more robust for that industry. So, what I've been talking about mostly is really the back end and kind of the back office operation. So for us, we call it a service commerce platform. It's managing all of the things that you need to do to run your operations. But the exciting stuff that's happening now is really thinking about, okay, how do we take that availability, like if you think of OpenTable, right? They're taking appointment availability or table availability and publishing it out on the web. And it's taken a while for the major guys to get into this place, but Google, as an example, launched recently integrated bookings in search. So in the knowledge panel on the right-hand side, right below the reviews, you can now book an appointment, and we're one of the beta partners. We also launched with Yelp probably a year and a half ago on the Yelp platform, so when somebody's going and searching for a particular location or a service, you can schedule that right through Yelp. And so those are transformational things that are happening. A lot of stuff that's happening in mobile, a lot of things that are happening in marketplaces right now, and the businesses need a way to be connected to that, and Booker's one of the platforms that can do that. The next part that that we're excited about seeing is really the integration of marketing services into the operating system. And really that allows you to use the data that you have very intelligently to do targeted offers. Maybe I know somebody hasn't been back in a while, so I can target an offer to them. Maybe I know next week on Tuesday I'm running at a 20% occupancy, so I need to start filling that book up more. And so I can either send offers out to my existing customer base, or I can send it out through specials through somebody like a Google or a Yelp. We know who was in to get a service. We know that it's actually certified. It might not be a phantom reviewer, so we can do certified ratings and reviews and send that information back out. You can do booking reminders, you can do refer a friend, and all of that is really about how to help these local service businesses tap into big data in a way that drives their revenues. One of the things that we're also seeing that I think is really relevant for this room is the idea that you can actually track what's performing in advertising. And that's something that even big companies like Booker, where we're spending millions of dollars a year on our ad infrastructure, it's still difficult to track everything through a funnel, much less when you're selling a service online. And I think everybody recalls the early days of e-commerce growth, where Google was able to take off with online advertising because of attribution, right? It was you put the checkout pixel in the shopping cart, and you know that this came all the way in from XYZ affiliate, somebody transacted, you go back and do a rev share. When you're talking about an offline service for fulfillment, you don't have any idea if the person showed up if you're not a connected system. So you know that you got this impression and you got this click, but for a service-based business, even if you get all the way down into doing the actual appointment booking, you don't know if the person showed up unless you're tied into the point of sale. And so one of the things that we spent a lot of time building out this year is an attribution system that will do both online attribution, so if you've come in through Google or Yelp or a Facebook ad, we can do it. But we also went a step further and made it so that at the time of an appointment that somebody behind the desk is putting in an appointment or checking somebody in or checking somebody out, that they can tag the source of where that customer came from, including referrals from a friend, and then it will come back and tell the merchant where all of their customers came from and how effective their advertising spend has been. If you fast forward this 12 months from now, what this should be able to do is come back and say, hey, here's how your advertising spend has been functioning. These are your best channels. Next week at Tuesday, you have 20% occupancy. You need to fill some seats. Here are the 3 advertisers you should go run these ads on. And so that's where we see this really evolving to, and all of that is only made possible because of the data that's connected on the back end. So just wrapping this up, I've got a few minutes left, kind of some quick conclusions. I think, David asked me, does one size fit all in this industry? And I think the answer is no, because you can't have a system, or I haven't seen a system yet, that does, medical and restaurants and automotive and house services and so forth. I do think that there's a way that one platform can serve a lot of those, and that's, certainly the path that we're driving down at Booker. But as you introduce additional complexities with multi-location and franchises, I don't think that's me. I had my mom call me one time in the middle of a presentation, so I always take my phone out now. That was kind of embarrassing. Second one is in terms of, what do you need to serve multiple verticals? You really have to understand the use cases that apply to most of the verticals that you're going after. And so that's kind of that horizontal breadth. You definitely need some vertical features, but the thing that I've seen, which is the last point on here, is that especially if you listen to your salespeople, and we should all not necessarily do that, they will tell you that you have to build super deep vertical functionality because they can't close that one sale without this particular feature. And we've gone down that rabbit hole a lot. I think Chris is out here, one of our product guys, and he knows that rabbit hole well. And so it's really what we've seen is that as we've developed those super deep features, when you go back and actually look and see who's using what, 5%, maybe 10% are using that. And so you probably just spent several $100,000 on building it and then having to maintain it. And so that kind of puts you in the situation where you go, I'd rather probably not have that customer and have that money back and really be able to improve the product in other areas that would apply to more type of business categories. So that's one of the things that we've seen is that the more that you can make your product easy to use, easy to onboard, easy to support, you might not be able to fit every use case in there. That's kind of the right way to approach it. And then similar to what we did with Golf Now and we're looking at with some other partners is really using a platform approach where you could bring best of breed web-based products in, interface through APIs, and really leverage the platform that you have underneath. And so that's something that I'm starting to see more people doing. A lot of that's happening in the marketing space right now. So you'll see companies that are running operating systems or point of sales, interfacing with CRM systems. I think Randy, Constant Contact, was doing that in the very early days where they were interfacing and getting customer data out to do targeted campaigns. And that's just happening more and more now. You see it with Demandforce and Lighthouse and some of the folks in that space. So certainly think of that as a way to also provide a more connected suite to serve the local economy. I think that's about it. About to run out of time. So thank you, Laura and David, for letting me pinch hit today. And I'll turn it back over to you. Thanks.